Hi guys, I am here tonight on this lovely spring evening. Nice that the sun has started to come out to do a live talking all things this winter and all things Ski Mojo. I've got the ski podcast. Iain is coming in 1 second. I'm actually just recovering from love a curry before I go away. It's kind of my to go to. So the day before I leave for a big trip and the day I come back are always immersed in Indian food. And there's Iain there. I was just saying that I'm recovering from overindulging at dinner. Yeah.
Okay.
Macaroni is my to go to dish, and it was divine tonight.
Well, I'm delighted to hear it. And when I spoke to you earlier, you had a very large stuffed teddy bear. You've moved that out the way now, yeah?
I've now got my ski pillows. These ones, not so nice. Everyone's going to ask where they're from, and I'm going to say I don't know. They were both presents. I think I'm quite easy to buy presents for. You just buy something with a snowflake on.
Excellent.
Iain, you're bleeding. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So you can hear me okay, right?
I can hear you. Can everyone?
Yeah, perfect.
Myself and Iain, I think they can.
Okay, well, I can see a whole bunch of people are joining. So I guess while we're just waiting for them to join, you mentioned just there, Chemmy, I'm really quite excited about the opportunity to chat to you. We tend to catch up on a fairly regular basis, but I haven't spoken to you since the beginning of the season, I think, and a lot has happened in between. So I'd just like to thank Ski Mojo, who've arranged this opportunity for us to have a little chat. And, I've been following you via Instagram, and there are lots of really interesting things on there. I love following your content. And I've got so many questions about, this winter season in general. So I don't know if you're happy. I wonder if we could just, start off with Ski Sunday, because it's such a vicarious pleasure watching Ski Sunday every week during the winter, whether you've got a ski holiday coming up imminently or not. It's just brilliant to be able to see yourself and Ed and all the other presenters, out there in the mountains. And the racing isn't always necessarily my thing. I enjoy watching the racing, but I much more enjoy the features.
Say everyone has an opinion on what they want more of on Ski Sunday. And we listen to but it's a show for the masses. Even, in fact, would you believe that 30% of the people who watch Ski Sunday don't ski or snowboard?
That's an interesting fact. Okay, I didn't know that. I can kind of believe that, I guess, because it's still athleticism. People don't would necessarily watch football or other sports without necessarily being involved in them, and it's great to see the best people in any sport do their job. But for me, it's the features that are the key bit. And one of the ones I wanted to ask you about was something that I think you did quite early on in the season when you were in Wengen. There was a brilliant feature with the Ladies Ski Club. I think they're celebrating their 100th anniversary this year or something like this. And you actually dressed up and skied on equipment that was, I don't know, you tell me, how old was it?
Okay, so this is quite an interesting one. So I have been a supporter of the Ladies Ski Club for my whole life. They were very kind to give me a grant, and they're really imperative to the development of any young female skier in the UK, and they have so much passion for the sport. And then last year it came to my attention that this year was their 100th anniversary, and it was 100 years until since these amazing women had gone out there and hiked up these unpieces piste on these old skis and launched themselves down it and formed the Ladies Ski Club. And so I said it'd be really great if we could try and get that on Ski Sunday. And it's very challenging. I don't get a say actually into what goes into the show unless it's the kind of ski social at the end, the freedom bit. But that we're passionate about showing, and the producer was like, right, we'll go and film something and we'll try and put it in at the end in a news section. And went over to Mirren, and I was having dinner the night before, going through this concept and writing the script. It was quite exciting for me because I got to write the whole thing. And they were like, right, well, with your skis, we've got this plastic wood laminate sticker that we can put on your slalom skis. And I was like, oh, that feels like a cop-out to me. Like, I really want to do this piece justice. And we happened to go to dinner at this guy's house who has a huge history of skiing. And he had these 100-year-old skis that used to be in a museum on his wall. And I looked at them and I said, oh, what about those? And he's like, yeah, I would. I mean, they're not skiable. And I was like, well, can we get them off the wall? So after our spaghetti bolognese and maybe a few glasses of wine, we got these skis, undrilled them from the wall. And I'm looking at them going, okay, yeah, right, this is the right era. Didn't have any edges, because the way the skis were at the beginning, they didn't have edges. And then the wooden skis, you know, supersonic technology had these edges, but these were completely old school. And I thought, these are wicked. And then I was thinking, okay, I've got 12 hours until I want to start filming. How do I find boots? And so I called a few people and they said, listen, we don't have boots from 100 years ago in your size, because obviously women didn't ski that much, so there weren't many pairs of those leather boots. And I looked down and I looked at my snow boots for the season, which were these, I mean, it's Kurt Geiger, the brand is irrelevant, but these leather, actually they're vegan boots, so they're not even leather, but these boots, at like 11 p.m. the night before, I tried my normal, you know, walk around shoes in these wooden skis, and I thought we could make this happen. But the whole time, actually, the Ski Sunday team were rather nervous about this, because had races in the old equipment, and it was very dangerous for Graham's ankles. So they were like, no, don't do it. Anyway, went out the next day. The Epic team in Mirren had set a slalom. I didn't actually realize that no one did slalom originally. They just went downhill, because these skis are unbelievably brutal to turn. I mean, I couldn't turn. I was walking around.
Sure. Well, I watched the footage again earlier today, and they looked incredibly difficult to control. It's almost impossible to imagine how anyone could have skied in them, even if they were just not going through a slalom course, just skiing downhill.
Yeah. So anyway, so I did the slalom 9 times and I fell 8 times, and eventually I did it. But I said to the guys, I was like, we need to show me falling, because obviously I do unfortunately still have an ego when I ski and I want to be good, but how brutal this equipment was and how far we've come since those skis. And it was amazing what they used to manage to achieve on those skis, because I can tell you what, the 155s that I ski on day in, day out are a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, it was very impressive. So I've got to track back to this. So you're sitting in someone's house and he's got a pair of skis drilled to the wall, and you decided, oh, you know what I think is a good idea? I'm going to go and ski on those in a couple of days' time.
I'll tell you what, he was very nervous when he watched me the next day, thinking that if I got hurt, it would be all his fault. But yeah, I mean, you've got to do it. You've got to do it properly, I think. And I wanted to do it justice, and I didn't want to just fake it with my normal skis. That wouldn't have been real for me. And the ladies ski club were incredible and supportive, and they had all these outfits, and yeah, it was amazing. And it's a tiny voice that I can give to an incredible team and club.
Well, it really was really enjoyable to watch, and you know, for anyone who's with us just now, you can actually find it on Chemmy's Instagram feed and watch that whole section there. And I found that quite interesting. So you don't choose the editorial features. You might suggest a few, or they get decided, you know, at a production level.
So, I mean, the good news is that we are an incredibly strong place in terms of passionate people who are involved in winter sports in the UK. So, yes, Ed and I present it, but we've got, as you know, Jenny Jones and Amy Fuller and Tim Warwood and Phil and all these incredible guest feature presenters who tend to get the features. And you sometimes pitch them. So I've pitched a few in the past, and you can pitch ideas, and they've got to see how it fits in. And I know pre-Olympic year, most of our features are on athletes and athletes who are going to podium. But in between the years, we get to find incredible people who are out there in the mountains doing incredible things. So yeah, we do propose a few stories. Like I got to do the Inferno a few years ago, and that was something that I pushed for. Every year I try and find a crazy event on snow. So if anyone knows any of those, I'm trying to look for like teamwork ones and inclusivity ones where you've got every kind of body of athlete. I think that would be a really fun one to do. So yeah, you can pitch them, but the big bosses are the ones who approve it.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, that one was brilliant. Another one that I really enjoyed, and I thought that the timing was so good because you obviously filmed it in the summer, and you met up with Dave Riding, and I was in Kitzbühel. And I think it was possibly when he was having a lift being named after him or something like that. And I really enjoyed that feature because he went to the top of the course where subsequently he got another podium and did a run through kind of on the course. And, it was really entertaining to watch, but obviously perfect because he managed to perform so well again on that particular course. So was that just luck?
Yeah.
Was that another one of your ideas?
Kitzbühel is very special for Dave, and we were there for the unveiling of his gondola, which was amazing. I did actually originally pitch that we would grass ski down.
Right.
And that got shut down by Dave very quickly. So let's just
I imagine his agent probably wouldn't have been very interested in that either, right?
Yeah, we just thought let's walk down it, and I thought it was really interesting. Coming from obviously at the end of my career, I was a speed skier, so the strife was more my thing than Dave's. But Dave brought so much humour to it, and the guy skis very well, but chose tech because his strength is there. So it was great to hear all his comedy, and I thought doing an interview with athletes like that who are so talented but also so focused in the winter. In the summertime you get a different edge to them. He was so relaxed. He hadn't had his daughter yet, so it was all before everything had kicked off in the last year for him. And it was great. I think it's really important to show people's personalities, especially ski racers' personalities, because they are wearing all of this goggles and helmets, and you're so covered. It's like, right, who is the person behind the mask? Because they have such incredibly unique personalities. I mean, there are sports where you can look at where there is a personality trait for the elite world class, but in ski racing you get some absolute nutters. You get some musicians. You get some guys who go out there and play golf every time they have a day off for relaxing themselves. You get guys like Dave who are obsessed with fancy football. You get every type of character, and I think now working on the other side of the sport, it's my job to expose that and show that uniqueness that they all have.
Yeah, well, it worked really well in terms of getting his personality over, but I just love the fact that you're able the synchronicity that you're able to time that with him yet again producing an amazing result there. And you were there at the time when he got his podium. I think you interviewed him maybe immediately afterwards as well.
I mean, this is another interesting thing with Ski Sunday is the rights, and everyone always says to us, "Oh, why aren't you sharing this race and this race and this race?" And actually you get a certain amount of rights for a certain amount of countries, and the Kitzbühel slalom is never a race that we have the rights for. So when we didn't have the rights for it, and the same this year. But you're never going to write off Dave, the legend, the Kitzbühel legend. And you always have to be on your toes, ready. And obviously I'm his friend, but I'm also a massive fan. So when we finished the show on the Saturday after the downhill, and we're still there on the Sunday, I go to watch him, and then all the text messages in the WhatsApp group go wild, and I'm like, guys, you got to be here, it's happening again, he's doing it. Got to show this. And it's lovely to be there in such a role as a fan, but then be able to share that with other people.
Yeah, well, it was great to watch, and I believe he is the oldest person to win a slalom World Cup race, or the oldest person to podium. He's certainly, we'd consider him to be a veteran racer at this time.
Yeah, you've got the Johan Clary, who's 42 and he's just retired actually last week. But I think that's what's so exciting about ski racing is that Dave, I mean, his age is irrelevant. He does talk about it all the time, and he's he cracks the jokes calling himself an old man, but his body is holding up really well. He has so much passion for it, and his technique is incredible. So, everyone always says to me, when will he be done? And I'm like, well, why would he be done? Like, ignore age. We all develop at different stages, and he did get into the sport later. So actually, although he's 36, he's actually only 26, because most people started 10 years before it.
I like that theory, and I know that he's obviously super fit because I follow, I've interviewed him a few times, and I know that he and the team often do park run when they're back in the UK, and he can pull out a very fast, I think it's a sub-18 park run, which is a very fast time. So, this is not just the skills of skiing slalom.
I mean, Dave is ridiculously competitive, and actually that whole slalom team was really, I think that's what works so well for them, because they compete on the hill for coffees. You've probably seen them talk about have a coffee tab, and I'm actually quite interested to get in touch with them now and see who's winning the bets on the coffees. But they do it on everything. They do it working out. They do it when they stay in Saas-Fee in the summers. They do this crazy, horrendous, like maximum capacity work in the gym in their free weights, and then they have to run up one side of the mountain and get the gondola down, and it is brutally steep. But you just see how far they're willing to push themselves. And actually, Tristan Glass-Davies and Alan Baxter and Jai, the whole team are super fit. So the coaches also compete with the athletes, and it's just that healthy, competitive environment. Oh, can you still hear me? I'm not sure whose end's breaking up. But also,
here we go. You're back.
If anyone wants to write questions down below, I did see one coming in about ski yourling. Now I don't know how to say that, but whoever wrote that, they tried to propose doing that with Corinne Suter next winter. So Corinne Suter, I think she was silver medalist in the World Championships this year. Incredible Swiss skier. Her other passion is horse riding. So I thought that would be a really fun thing to learn. And I've just seen, I mean, in America, the States, they have all these events where it's kind of like a ski cross, but you've got a horse pulling you on a rope along and everything. So, and it would be wicked to try. I used to horse ride. I used to get sent to pony camp because I had too much energy in the summer. So any camp, I wasn't that into horses, but I actually, I enjoy riding, and I have a huge amount of respect for polo players because it's
for sure, yeah. Can I ask you about another, I guess this isn't a feature, it was more the racing side of things, but the Miribel downhill. Now, for many years, or quite a few years, Graham was doing the kind of descents and filming that. And I think I'd asked you about that before, and you weren't necessarily sure about whether or not it was something that you were going to take on. And this was obviously the first time. And it's been missed from the screen because it's thrilling to watch. I wondered how the decision to do it came about and what the process is, to get to ski down a World Championship downhill course as it was in that case.
So, I mean, you're right. I did do a U-turn on it. And I think that is just the beauty of time and being forgetful. It took me a long time because when I retired, a surgeon who had done a lot of surgery on my right leg basically took my retirement decision out of my hands. He said to me that if I crashed again with all the metalwork that I have in, then wouldn't have a lower limb on my right leg. It just wouldn't last. I mean, my bone has never healed, so I now weight bear through this metal rod. So I love ski racing, but I love skiing more. So it really helped me make my decision to retire, and I'd given it a good go through 4 Olympics. But he said, look, you can't expect your body to be able to handle the forces of skiing 70, 80 miles an hour now and hold it together for the rest of your life. So that's why I steered clear of doing a camera run for so long. And then this winter, I mean, I'm always training. I'm always in the gym. I'm always healthy. I train so that my body is ready to say yes. I want to be able to be open to every opportunity that arises. And I know that I'm getting older, and after having 2 kids, there's definitely some weaknesses there. And then this winter, I felt good. The part of the Miribel track was a track that we used to race at the British Champs.
Yeah.
And I was asked to do it. And at that time, I didn't really have a reason that day to say no.
Right. Okay. As simple as that.
But then I got into the start, and the Fizz TD said to me, you've got to go hard on these first few gates. Don't take off any speed, because that first Boss Anglaise, the English jump, which was after 12, the 5-foot cutout jump, he's like, if you go off that without the speed that the other girls, the other athletes have, you will tear your ACL on landing. I mean, he was so black. This was 2 minutes before I started. He was so black.
Yeah.
He was trying to be funny, you know, the old cultural misunderstanding. So he told me that, and I was like, right, okay. I mean, I had intended to stand up a bit more, but you know, you push out that start gate and your heartbeat goes, and you can't not return to the racer inside you. Your ego takes over.
Yeah. Can I ask, when does this fit in relative to the competition?
Okay, so yeah, I had begged to do a training run, and then do the live TV output on the Saturday.
Yeah.
So I had to do a training run on the Thursday, and then what happened was the Thursday went so well, that my first ever time filming and talking, that we just used that feed. I didn't even get to do it again, and I was like, oh, I could maybe do it better. And but no, it was amazing. I mean, everyone just kept saying to me, you're not a ski racer, you're a TV presenter. It's more about the stories that you tell. And obviously I've watched Graham do it incredibly well for years and years and years, and I kind of wanted to put my own stamp on it. But as soon as I started skiing, I literally went into Racehead. I mean, I was making up stuff and names of tracks that I had 2 decades and putting them in this track. Like, I was talking about rock and roll, and when I was a racer, if there was any time a roller or a double roller or a triple roller in a turn, if it was 1 roller, we called it Huey. If it was 2, we called it Huey and Louie, and if it was 3, we called it Huey, Louie and Louie.
I watched it earlier today, and I was like thinking, wow, that's a very strange name for features on a course in France.
Anyway, so you know, your Racehead just starts, and basically didn't have inner monologue. I was very lucky. You watched it today. You said, yeah, I was very lucky to not swear as I came last, because I'd watched a few of the girls in the training run ski two round there, and I was like, I know that you have to go straight. I know it's blind, but you have to go straight. So I was basically just you know, talking what my brain was saying. So my brain was saying, right, and this is some way where you've really got to go straight. You've got to have the confidence and the commitment to go straight. Anyway, I came over way too straight, and my brain went expletives, and I went, oh, that was too straight. But luckily,
yeah, I remember that bit. Yeah, exactly. And how, just kind of specifically, kind of interesting to know how the cameras work, because you've got at least 2, maybe 3 cameras. I mean, how many are there?
Yeah, so we also changed that, you know, because Graham did it so well. I didn't want to do it exactly the same as Graham, and in Wengen I decided that I might be able to do this camera run, and so I got the long skis out, which I haven't skied on forever. You know, the 220s they're not the most fun ski, they're the fast ski. You can't go slow on them. It's not like I could do my pieces to camera normally on Ski Sunday on a 220, because Zoid, the cameraman who's snowboarding, you know, he'd be left in the dust. So I do use the slalom time. So I got these skis out, and I thought, right, I want to use these, and I went to Central Sport in Wengen, and there's an incredible creative snowboard technician there, and Ed knew him, and I said, hey Steve, could you help me make a really cool mount for the front of my ski so that I can put a front facing mount on my tip, because normally when you do that the vision's quite blurry and it vibrates, but actually what's happened with the cameras the last few years, they've got that internalized stabilizer. So he made this amazing mount for the front of my ski, which was great actually, because I'm normally better in the air on one ski than another to get it to contact. So I put it on my weak leg, and it meant that it weighed the tip down, and my jumping was better.
Okay.
So I had one on my top, which my brother-in-law lent me on the morning of it, actually. Thank you, Mike. So that was facing forward. Then I had one, I undrilled the screw on the top of my pole. So I undrilled that out there, and then I had a forward-facing one, which was good, but I actually tucked way more than I thought I would. So we had to use the other cameras a lot in those shots, because I was...
Gotcha. And you had a microphone as well?
Yeah, I had a microphone inside my buff.
Right, because the sound was very good. I mean, I guess, you know, it's a BBC, right? Maybe you'd expect the sound to be good, but you're traveling quite fast.
Excuse me. I was actually really relieved the sound was good, because when I get nervous, and the last time this happened of this extreme nerves was when I did dancing on ice, and I get this really dry mouth. It doesn't matter how much water I've had. I think lots of people get it. And so as I was skiing down, going whatever 60, 70 miles an hour, trying to talk, my mouth was sticking together because it was so dry. So I kept having to try and pull it out. And I was thinking, people are going to think I'm very strange watching this, but you can.
And will we see more, you know, downhill run throughs from you then as we go into next season? Now you've, you know, taken it on and done it, and you know, maybe it wasn't so bad. Do you think there'll be other ones, or was it specifically because you'd skied that course before, it was Miribel, you knew it pretty well, and therefore it wasn't that same type of challenge?
I mean, I'm not sure. I know that it was very popular, and I think it's also really important to see people getting out of their comfort zone who are on TV. You know, there's so often I'm doing things that I can do every single day, which isn't that relatable, because everyone gets scared every day. So actually to go out there and do something that I'm scared of, and you know, put that through words and through sport on television, and people to share that with me, because it's not normal going 70 miles an hour down the mountain, is I do want to do again. And I will always, you know, I'll always accept my fear and talk about my fear and embrace it, because I think it's part of getting out your comfort zone and growing as a person and as a TV presenter. So yes, I do really want to do them.
Yeah, good. Well, I look forward to that. But I mean, you mentioned that one of the reasons that maybe you hadn't considered it before is because you have had, you know, you've had advice that maybe you shouldn't be skiing that fast, and you've had a lot of injuries over your career. I mean, I know you went to, probably had a 20-year racing career in total, you know, 4 Winter Olympics in there. I mean, one of the reasons we're chatting today is because it's been arranged by Ski Mojo, and we'll come on to the Ski Mojo in a minute. But that has helped you. I wondered if you wanted to, if you could even remember reeling off the various injuries that you have had during your career.
Okay, so I always start at the top, because like my injuries at the top of my body are quite strange. But I dislocated my jaw at World Juniors. There was a gate that wasn't screwed in the whole way, and I fell inside on these death cookies, which I know everyone knows, those horrible cookies you get when the snow's not right. And dislocated my jaw on the bottom of that. And thankfully there was a French doctor there who put it back in. So I had years of physiotherapy inside my mouth, which is the worst. That and your psoas are the worst things to have physio on. And so that's my, from the top down, that's my first one. Oh, I'm also deaf in my right ear, which a lot of people don't know, which is why Ed always stands on my left. This is so
good inside info.
Normally, working on a mountain, and you're smaller, you'd stand on the side that's taller so that it's easier for the cameraman to film. I often make it quite difficult because I always have to stand on the right so that I can hear Ed. I do, but I don't wear it because I can hear too much with my hearing aid. I've got like supersonic hearing with my hearing aid, because I learnt to hear through my teenage years and develop my left side much better. So now when I put my hearing aid in, I can literally hear people's conversations 3 tables away, and I feel like I'm being quite intrusive. So so I'm deaf in my right ear. I've got that jaw issue. I broke my neck, which is widely publicised. My neck is fused together. So I have the fused bone. I've got a nodule on the back of my neck. Then I broke my back just before my Olympics in Salt Lake City in Mount Hutt off a jump. In the start training with boys, I was quite feisty. I wanted to show them that girls could do it all. So I said, they were worried about this jump. No one had hit it before. And so I said I would go first, and I was the dummy. And it didn't work out very well. I got the wind caught under my skis and landed straight in my back. And I was very lucky I was wearing a back protector. So I got flown to Christchurch Airport that time. And then my ribs, I broke my ribs. Actually, I had broken ribs at the Vancouver Olympics. I'd broken them in a training in the Kiska just beforehand. And I remember, because the Olympic Village has everything. And so we went to the medics there, and they made me this chest plate, like one woman chest plate. I mean, it was quite embarrassing because I was still quite young, and I was there in my bra, and all these people had this like paper mache stuff to try and protect my ribs for the race. So I had this crazy cool chest plate made, which I unfortunately lost, because I think that would be quite a fun memorabilia. Then going down, I've had lots of groin tears. Because I've got such strong legs, my core was never strong enough. So I had instability through my hips, and my core wasn't strong enough to hold that. So that's something that I do now, a lot more Pilates based work, so that I'm a bit more all-rounded. And then, then when we get to my knees, I actually tied with 2 ACLs, very important to say. And then I was at the ski test, and I was doing a tug of war on skis, which is a very stupid movement pattern to do, because obviously I wanted to be strong. So I dug my edges in, and then I was pulling the rope this way, and I remember crawling out this circle, these people egging me on, and I knew that's what a torn ACL was. And then on my other leg, so I had the compound tib fib, shattered the leg, multiple pieces, broke through my...
Was that in a single accident?
Yeah, that was 2010 in Lake Louise. That was the big one.
Yeah.
And I had multiple surgeries on that. So I had the external cage, I had plates, then I tried to have no metal work, and now I have the nail down the bone marrow, but I didn't actually have bone marrow because it's so messed up. So that was a very complex surgery. Then I broke my ankle. That was 2 weeks after I won the second run in Solden World Cup in 2008. So that was going to be my big year of greatness. And then I broke my ankle. And then this is a weird one, getting down to the feet. I was born with banana-shaped bones in my feet. Now, my mum was a swimmer, an international swimmer, and she had these huge paddle feet, and I inherited those. So actually, in 2006, just after my mum passed away, I wanted to take some time to come to terms with that and take time away from the sport. And so I decided to have corrective surgery on the bones in my feet. So I had them all broken and realigned, and I was in a wheelchair for 5 months. I think.
Right. Okay. Have we got to the bottom now? That was head to toe. I mean, in my mind, I have this picture of a skeleton with lots of little marks on it. And there's not much left, as far as I can remember, that hasn't been kind of damaged at some point. I wonder if you could tell me then how you came across the Ski Mojo, and how that has helped you then, given the various injuries that you've mentioned.
So I think since 2010, I had lower limb knee problems. So I was constantly testing braces. So for a lot of my career, I was trying knee braces left, right and centre, trying taping. And I never was comfortable when I wore a knee brace or taping. I've got a really sensitive touch to what my body's doing. I guess that helped me a lot during my career. But it means that if I had tape on one side of my body, or if I had something going on, if my sock was tighter on one side, or if I had a knee brace on, I always, or what it did was it had a crazy fast connection to my brain to tell me that I was injured that side and that I should back off that leg. So I compensated all the time when I had asymmetric support, I call it. So even I remember when I was a kid, I had tendonitis, and I used to tape my patellar tendon, and I used to have to do it on both knees, because otherwise I would back off that knee. And I think a lot of people have this, but they just go through it. But I'm so sensitive and in tune with my body that I need that symmetry, that pendulum motion. So as soon as I found out about the Ski Mojo, I wrote to them and I was like, look, I need this. I need something that supports my skeletal equally, so that I can move through my injuries and assist the power that I've lacked, but on a both leg basis. And it was just, it was night and day. I've never worn a knee brace since.
And just in case people who are listening to us chatting right now don't know, then do you want to explain how it's different from a regular ski brace?
Yeah, so obviously knee braces, you wear them on one leg, and they are there to just really quite severely hold an injury in place. That's their role, is to kind of block the movement. Whereas the Ski Mojo, it's an external fixation that you wear on the side of your leg, and it's got these hydraulic springs on the side that you can change how much assistance you want. So it can take up to 70% of the weight you have in your lower body away. So if you're a really good skier, but you haven't had time to train before your ski holiday and you want to ski all day, every day, it can really help with that endurance. Equally, if you have pain, you can tune it up so that it takes all the resistance and the kind of the pain that you have through your knees away. It literally becomes your knees, this suspension on the side. And then the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is performance wise, it's fantastic too. So quite a lot of injuries happen when people get tired. They drop their hip throughout the turn, especially because the skis now are so powerful and they give you so much whiplash. You know, we're always talking about that slingshot that you got. So when you come out the turn, you want to feel the power, but it's very hard to harness power and stay on top of it. So that's why you see a lot of people have a eureka moment and make one great turn, but they can't make that consistency to do 2 or 3 because they get back at the back seat. And you'll all have done a wheelie, like everyone's got pulled back on the tails, and it's because the power and gravity pulling your hip backwards at the end of the turn is strong. So you have to really be able to keep your hip on top of your knees, moving forward to try and keep that speed coming with you. And what the Ski Mojo doesn't allow you to do, it doesn't allow your hip to drop back. It really, at the end of the turn, it propels you forward, and it really helps you work the front of the ski. So not only is it fast, it's also very safe. It's a much safer place to be in on the front of your ski.
Yeah, and I mean, I have tried it myself. I used it in Saas-Fee in the summer a few years ago, and at the time, I was coming back from a bit of a tendonitis, patella tendonitis in my knee from some of the running that I'd done, and I was amazed how much difference it made. I wore mine under my ski pants. Do you wear yours over or under?
So for me, when people ask me what it is, it's like having a power assisted bike. I mean, everyone's tried electric bikes now. I use an electric bike to take my boys to school because I've got this, you know, it's not a cage, but I've got a bucket on the front, and
yeah,
you know, they now weigh 45 kilos. And so even though I don't live in a very hilly area, I have a power assisted bike, and it just makes it easier and efficient, and I can go longer on the bike. And that's kind of the same thing with the Ski Mojo. I wear it underneath my trousers. Or, well, actually, I've got special trousers. I've got tight trousers now. When I wear, I've got 2 looks that I go for, Ian. I either go for a big jacket and tight trousers, or the other way round. And so, yeah, I wear it on top or underneath. But what I love about Ski Mojo is the community. So anytime you see another person with a Ski Mojo, you just gravitate towards them to share your experience. And I think that is, it's kind of like, I remember when you were growing up, what was that car that if you had, was it a yellow MG, you like waved each other? There was a, you know, they're a clan, they're a group, they stick together. I feel like that with the Ski Mojo on the mountain. You know, you see someone wearing and you want to know their story, and some of them are because they're getting older and they're not so fit and they miss skiing and it's just changed their lives, but they can still do something they're really passionate about. Others are, they wanted to fast track back from injury. When we're talking about injury, it's really important that you do seek professional advice. Obviously, I'm talking about my personal experiences with Ski Mojo, but very important that if you are considering it, you talk to your physios and your team to see if it's right for you.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting you said that, you know, people see you wearing it, you know, on the continent. The sales are really, really strong. Yeah. I was reading an article the other day about the number of people buying them in France now. And I think you've seen these photos. They've got some different designs in leopard skin and have you seen those?
Oh my gosh, very jealous about that.
And I think that's a really clever idea because it's going to encourage people to be more likely to wear them on the outside because they look quite cool. Yeah. And that's just going to increase awareness of the Mojo in itself and kind of normalize it, like you were saying there. Certainly, you know, everyone who I've come across who's used it is very evangelical about it. You know, they're completely, you know, haven't met anyone where they haven't said that it has kind of worked for them. So, you know, so that's really interesting to hear. And, you know, in general, it's great to know that it's helping to extend, you know, your skiing career, and hopefully it will help you perhaps go down some more of the downhill runs on Ski Sunday next winter as well. Yeah. Which, you know, I personally would love to see that, and you know, hopefully we'll get to see that next winter as well.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Yeah, no, I think wearing the Ski Mojo, it would almost feel like I was cheating on the way down, because I'd definitely be able to talk without breaking a sweat if I did a downhill on the way down with that. But no, it's fantastic, and I think that one thing I've learned throughout my career, and having lived with pain for 10 years every single day and been pill popping to get rid of that pain, you know, when I an athlete in the race situation, I can't remember a day I raced without painkillers and dulling the senses because of the pain that I had. And then when I retired, I realized that that is really something that we shouldn't do. We shouldn't live with pain. We shouldn't have to perform through pain. And I'm very passionate about pain management. And for me, Ski Mojo is great for that. I do want to say that you can try them at Hemel. There are places like people are like, oh gosh, they're an expensive piece of kit because they are so good and they're very, very technical. But when you think about all the expenses that you're putting into your ski holiday, if it makes you be able to ski double the amount of time, it's 100% worth it. You're working so hard to make that ski holiday happen, so make sure you can get the most out of it. And you can try them in the snow domes, you can test them, and see how great they are, and see if they suit you too.
Yeah, there's actually a blog post on their site where someone wrote in and they calculated the amount of skiing time that they did before they had the Mojo and the amount of skiing time that they did afterwards, and worked out that they earned back the cost of the Mojo in relation to the cost per hour skiing just on one holiday. Because lift passes are quite expensive. If you're not actually spending your time on the mountain, then you're not really getting anything out of it. I'm just having a quick look to see if there were any questions. Did you see any questions that anyone's asked that we can tackle?
I saw someone say that you can try these in the UK, and thank you for reminding us, because that is really, really important. If anyone's got any questions about anything we talked about for the winter, or if you want to tell us any of your on Ski Mojo, I think a lot of people are very vocal about the benefits. Here we go. Oh yes, thank you. Ever considered a one-off ski summer activities? Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's incredible, and it's what's necessary for the ski industry now, is to make the resorts a destination in the summer as well, because we know that with the winters becoming more challenging, in order for them to still be there in the winter, they've got to be able to monetize their summer. So I think that is a really great feature. All I can think of is in Whistler and those crazy gnarly jumps that they go on the bike. So I'm not going to do that one. Not that one.
But there's plenty, so many options in the Alps in the summer. I've spent a family holiday out there, and destinations, for example, like Chamonix is a fairly obvious one, which is really busy in the summer. But Teen, for example, I've been there with my kids before. They have so many activities there. You can obviously do things like, hiking, etc. But they've got archery and air rifle shooting and trampolining and tennis, and they've got the wonderful lake there, so you can go paddleboarding and canoeing, etc. And you're right, the resorts are looking to bring people in and make themselves a four-season destination.
Yeah. Someone's just highlighted about the Brits going back to the film, and I do want to say that I have to talk about Tim Allwood's feature in Scotland, because this year I watched it and it was just magical. It looked unbelievable, and we are so have that on our kind of doorstep. I think that the more people go, the better they can have the infrastructure there to get more people on the slopes and have a faster turnaround on lifts. And I think our winter in Scotland has been much more consistent than other places in Europe. So, yay, Ski Scotland.
Yeah, I see a comment there about Scotland. The Brits are coming up in the first weekend in April, I believe, in Scotland. Which, fingers crossed that they get good snow, because I know the conditions can change relatively quickly.
Yeah, they can.
Any other questions seen there?
No, I don't think there's any other questions.
No, well, we did say we go to 8:30, and it's already 8:45. I know you've got children, Chemmy. So I'd like to say thanks very much for your time today. I'd like to thank the Ski Mojo for putting this together as well. And I look forward to watching Ski Sunday again, as I do every year. And hopefully we'll have the opportunity to catch up before the autumn for the ski podcast as well.
No. Going to do a shout out to your ski podcast, because I think you've got a really amazing mix of guests who are there to entertain and inform, and I just obviously you're an award winner. I know that, Iain.
That's true. And actually, this winter I was lucky enough to interview Ed as well while you were based out in
Yeah, yeah,
Courchevel, and I really enjoyed that.
yeah. So yes, you can keep that in the bank for your summer to keep your ski fix going.
That's great. Excellent.
All
Thanks
right,
very much, Chemmy. And I look forward to seeing you again next time.
bye, bye everyone. Good evening. Thanks, guys. Yeah, see some of you guys at Hemel for my Ski Club of Great Britain days this summer. I will be there. I'm also going to try with Ski Mojo and set up a pain management day with Ski Mojo, Embrace, and some of the CBD brands that I'm passionate about in September. So watch this space. And good night. Oh, people are joining. No, don't join. It's finished. Bye.